Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I am here with a card project today featuring this adorable stamp set. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and it's a part of their STAMPtember release. It's called Warm Christmas Wishes, and I just wanted to show you here on my phone that the day that I made this card, it is, yes, that says 103 for the high. So for those of you who are upset at me for making a Christmas card in what feels like the middle of summer here in California, I just wanted to let you know that Santa is dressed appropriately for a California Christmas at this point. So let's get started here. I have a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock. This is going to be my card front. And I have one of these stitched borders. This is from Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm going to emboss it into my card front and kind of create a mound of sand here. So I have this on my embossing platform, and then I have my bottom cutting pad, my Spellbinders embossing mat, and then my paper and die, and then the top cutting plate, and I've run that through. And you can see when I pull this off that I have a really nice embossed kind of hill scene there. I'm also, while I have my die cut machine out, going to cut this same die out of some Eclipse Art masking tape. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and use the Inkadinka-Doo stamp masking paper, or if you even wanted to use a piece of typing paper in the place, you could. I just like to use this because it has a really gentle adhesive on the back that helps keep my mask in place as I'm doing my inking. I'm going to be using both portions, both the upper portion and the lower portion of this mask, to add a little bit of ink to my card front here and kind of create a scene here. I don't do scene cards too often, but I really had a good time with this. So I'm starting by positioning that upper portion of the mask onto my card, and I've just lined it up with the embossed line that's already there. And now I'm using some Distress ink in, I believe it's antique linen, along with my ink blending tool, my mini ink blending tool, to kind of blend this light brown or tan color onto the bottom. This is going to create the sand or the beach for my scene here. And I like to start off kind of light and then build up the color as I go. That gives me a little bit more control. I also start on the masking paper and work my way down. And you can see as I pull off that masking tape, I have a really nice clean line edge there. So now I've added the bottom mask on here. So I've just lined it up once again with that embossed line. And now I'm using some tumbled glass Distress ink. And I'm just kind of blending kind of a small area of this. I'm not blending all over the background. I just wanted a little bit of sky behind where my trees are going to be stamped. So I'm just kind of blending that in and fading it out. And that's going to give me a really nice kind of sky effect there. Now, while that mask is in place, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my palm trees here. Now, the cool thing about this stamp, and I did not plan this on purpose, but it kind of has that arched line on the bottom of the tree. So this lined up perfectly with that embossed line that I created. I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring, so I'm going ahead and stamping this in some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I've used my stamp press here so that I can get a really nice clean impression. And I realize that I have ink behind this, but because this is such a light color, I can go ahead and do my Copic coloring over this and it's not going to affect it. And then once again, like I said, that curved line on the bottom of the trees lined up perfectly with that embossed edge that I created. So it was genius, but it was total accidental genius. So now I'm taking couple more images from that Warm Christmas Wishes stamp set. I'm using the surfboard as well as the little Santa here in his little board shorts and tank top. Thank goodness he has a tank top on, because nobody wants to see that, right? And I'm going to go ahead and start coloring my scene here. Now I'm starting with my lighter color on all of these, and I'm putting it in the place where I want the ink to be the darkest. So I'm starting out with the lighter color, and then I go over it with the darker color, and then I grab my lighter color again and just kind of blended that out. I'm going to try to talk you through this Copic coloring. I use really simple Copic coloring, 2, maybe 3 colors at the most, and I just kind of try to keep it really simple because that's what works for me with Copic coloring. So I blended out those leaves here, and now I'm moving on to the tree trunks, and I've added, once again, my light color where I want it to be darkest. I've gone over that with my darker color, And then I've gone back with my lighter color and just kind of blended that out. And the colors I'm using, by the way, will be linked in the YouTube description as well as over at my blog. But for the tree trunk, I used E35 and E39. For the leaves, I used YG17 and YG25. And now I'm moving on to the surfboard. And here I'm using the E33, the E35, and my light color is going to be the E11. And I'm just going to use that to blend out that darker and medium color all the way over to the right-hand side of that surfboard. Now, the reason that I start with my light color and then add my dark color over it is because that allows the paper to be saturated with a little bit of color when I add that dark color. So that way, when I go back over it with my lighter color, it has a tendency to blend out or bleed out a little bit easier than if I just added my dark color first. You could totally take and saturate the entire image with your light color and then add your dark color, but that's going to add more layers of ink. And I want to keep my lighter colors as light as possible so that I have more contrast between the two. So I've gone ahead and filled in his sunglasses. I've kind of took a Copic multi-liner and filled those in because they're not solid when they stamp. And I'm also colored the skin here. The skin I've used E00 and E11 and then just a little bit of R20, I believe. Maybe I didn't use the R20. I don't think I did. I had it in my stuff and I don't know why. And for my reds, I'm using the R35, the R27, and the R39. Now, the R35 is actually lighter than the R27. So that was my lightest color, and I used that on his tank top as well as his hat. And you can see I'm not being very careful with these because I am going to cut them out. I'm going to fussy cut here. There are some dies available, and I will have those linked below, but I just didn't have them. So I went over Santa's beard and added just a little bit of T1 and T2, and then I went over those with a little colorless blender to blend those out. And then on his shorts, I used the YG25 again and YG99 just in the darkest places to kind of add a little bit of shadow. Now, I forgot to mention earlier that when I do these, I go back over, I learned this tip from Jennifer McGuire, but the places where I want my darkest color, I do go back over those just a little bit at the end, just to kind of add a little bit more contrast in the darkest areas. So now you can see I've gone ahead and fussy cut my images out with my EK Success scissors. I love those little tiny scissors. And then I'm going around the edge of these pieces with my Copic black marker. This is the 100 marker. And I'm just kind of adding the black around the edge. It just gives it a cleaner look. It makes it look like I cut these out perfectly, even though I didn't. So now that I have my pieces all ready to go onto the front of my card, I'm kind of laying them out so I get an idea for the positioning. And I'm going to take my EK Success craft knife and just cut a little slit in the sand. This is going to kind of look like Santa just came in from surfing and he stuck his surfboard in the sand, maybe while he eats some cookies and milk. I don't know. So you can see I've tucked that surfboard in there. I added a little bit of foam adhesive at the top of the surfboard to kind of keep that in place and give it a little bit more dimension. And then I noticed I had a little bit of red Copic marker in the white area on Santa's hat. So I'm just going over this with a white gel pen just to whiten that up a little bit, I guess, and kind of cover my mistakes. So now I'm going to add my Warm Christmas Wishes sentiment to my card front. I've stamped that in some Hero Arts black dye ink. And here's where I'm going to go all crazy with the pretty pink posh sequins. I don't know, maybe you all think that I went a little overboard with this, but in my opinion, you can never have too much sparkle on a card, especially when it's a Christmas card. So I'm taking the sparkling clear sequins, I'm adding them with a little bit of multi-matte medium. I like to use my tweezers and that little precision tip on my multi-matte medium to add these. And I'm just kind of making it look like there's a little bit of snow in the background because I feel like snow follows Santa everywhere, right? I don't know. I just thought it would be a fun addition. And then I'm also adding some raspberry pretty pink posh sequins to the trees to make it look like they're ornaments on the trees. Now, I did create two versions of this. One is a little bit plainer as far as the sequins go, so I'll show that to you at the end, but you'll also be able to see still shots of that over on my blog. And for the little area on the tree trunks where there's like little lights wrapped around, I'm taking some Christmas red stickles. I almost called them Skittles just now. And adding those to the little light bulbs on the tree trunks there. So now I decided my sentiment needed a little bit something more, a little bit more weight to it to draw a little bit more attention to it. So I've decided to go ahead and white heat emboss part of that sentiment onto some black cardstock. So I've gone ahead and prepped my cardstock with my EK Success powder tool. I'm inking up that sentiment once again in some Versamark ink and stamping that onto the bottom of the cardstock, and then adding a little superfine detail embossing powder in white, and then I'll use my heat tool to set that or to emboss that. And once it's cooled, I took it over to my trimmer. I trimmed it out, added a little banner into it, and then a little foam adhesive to the back. And then I'm going to use my tweezers so that my fingers are out of my way and add this right over the part where it says Christmas wishes that I already stamped there. The tweezers just help me get my fingers out of the way and help me get perfect positioning and alignment for this portion of the sentiment, and I'll just attach that there. Now in this card, I went ahead and attached this to a white note or a red note card. I decided I didn't like that, so I went back and I attached it to a craft wood grain card base with a little strip of peppermint cardstock. I finished off Santa's sunglasses with a little bit of glossy accents to give them a little bit of shine, and that completes my card for today. You can see this is the plainer version here, and I'll also show you the more bejeweled version, I guess. As always, I will have links to all the products used in this project in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, where you can see more still shots. I really hope you enjoyed this card video today. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.